Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Haley, a 23-year-old, was never the kind of person who thought before acting. Impulsive, driven by raw emotions and craving certainty, she experienced the ups and downs of her relationship like every moment was a test, as if love only had value when it came with intensity. From the start of their marriage, she expected Cole to act like characters from the movies. She wanted grand declarations, strong reactions, signs of jealousy. To her, silence meant lack of feeling, and calmness felt like a threat. Cole, on the other hand, already had a life full of turbulence. At 38, he was looking for peace. He'd overcome disappointments, corrected bad choices, and when he met Haley, he believed he could build something lasting. He was a mature, practical man who saw love as a daily commitment built on care and respect, not emotional games. As the months passed, Haley began to feel something was missing. The conversations were good, the routine stable, but she wanted more than stability. She craved intensity. She wanted to be constantly surprised, as if living in an endless romantic movie. When Cole got home from work and said he was tired, she interpreted it as disinterest. When he wanted to stay in on Saturdays, watching a movie or just resting, she saw it as coldness. This grew inside her like a constant doubt. She started questioning whether he truly loved her or if he was just staying out of convenience. And the more Cole tried to keep the peace, the more she provoked conflict. Small arguments became storms. Silly complaints turned into hours-long fights. She tested him, pushed him, demanded more. She wanted to see how far he would go. Then one day, Haley made a decision. She decided to break up. But it wasn't a real ending, it was a move. A test. In her mind, the impact of separation would make Cole realize how important she was, how much he loved her. He would chase after her, apologize, promise to change. He'd show all the passion she believed he was hiding. Haley believed she was in control of the situation. She was so sure he would react like a desperate man that she even rehearsed sharp, cold responses to seem firm. She imagined the messages, the calls, the request to talk. She pictured him crying, saying he couldn't live without her. Everything was set up in her mind like a theater play. But the stage collapsed during the first line. When she sat down in front of Cole and said she wanted to end the marriage, he simply stayed silent for a few seconds. He took a deep breath, looked up at her, and replied, "If that's what you want, okay." That was it. No drama. No tears. No anger. He didn't try to argue, didn't raise his voice, didn't make her feel guilty. He just accepted. The casualness of his response hit Haley like a punch to the chest. She wasn't prepared for this. His indifference seemed crueler than any fight. She expected resistance and got peace instead. She anticipated chaos and received a calm finality. There, for the first time, she realized Cole might have given up a long time ago. She left the house with her own suitcases, expecting him to chase after her, but he didn't. 2 days later, he sent a message just asking if she needed help with divorce paperwork. That completely shook her. The ease with which he handled the end of their marriage made her feel discarded. But what she didn't understand was that Cole wasn't reacting with contempt. He was reacting because he was exhausted. For 2 years, he tried building something solid with a woman who turned every disagreement into a crisis. He tried talking, understanding, being patient. But Haley mistook maturity for coldness. She believed loving meant shouting, crying, chasing, promising the world. And he just wanted someone who chose to stay, without games. Cole didn't close off his heart out of revenge. He did it because protecting his peace was the only way forward. He realized he was stuck in a relationship where affection was used like currency, where feelings had expiration dates, and where any mistake turned into a threat. His decision to let her go wasn't made that day. It was built over time. Each night he fell asleep feeling tested, examined, as if his love always needed proof to be valued. When Haley said she wanted to separate, she thought she had won the game. But Cole wasn't even playing anymore. Outside, Haley appeared in control. She told her friends she finally did what she needed to do. She posted inspirational quotes on social media. Pretended to feel relieved. But inside, something broke more each day. Cole's silence hurt more than any argument they ever had. It was the silence of someone who had moved on, not someone who was hurt. And that, for Haley, was unbearable. She didn't lose a man in that moment. She lost the power she thought she had over him. And for the first time, she had to deal with the consequences of her own choices without anyone to blame, without anyone to confront. All that remained was absence. And she finally understood that what she called love was actually need disguised as passion. Haley believed she could control the narrative of the breakup however she wanted. After leaving the house, she played the role of the victim like putting on a uniform. She said she was ignored, that she felt alone in the marriage, that she tried everything. She repeated to anyone willing to listen that Cole distanced himself, that he wasn't the same anymore, that he seemed not to care about her feelings. Each sentence was an attempt to find support somewhere because she herself no longer knew if she believed what she was saying. Her closest friends heard distorted versions of events. Her mother, protective, comforted her saying she deserved someone who appreciated her more. At college, where she was seen as friendly and outgoing, she spread the idea that she endured a cold marriage for too long. But the stories she invented started tripping over themselves. First were small details that didn't match. Then came silences from people who didn't know how to respond. Some friends noticed that something sounded overly rehearsed. That's when Amanda entered the scene. Amanda was Cole's older sister. They never got along well, but she always tried to maintain polite relations out of respect for her brother. However, seeing how Haley publicly portrayed Cole, she decided to step in. She called Haley directly. Said she didn't believe a single word of that story. That everyone knew how hard Cole worked to keep the marriage alive. That what destroyed the relationship was Haley's emotional immaturity, her habit of making drama, her constant desire to provoke reactions to feed her ego. The conversation was short and direct. Amanda didn't yell or accuse. She simply spoke with the confidence of someone who had seen enough. Haley was caught off guard. She tried to argue, but nothing seemed convincing against Amanda's conviction. After that, comments online started changing. Likes on those inspirational quotes dropped. Private messages that used to bring support turned into silence. One or another classmate avoided the topic when passing her in the hallway. Haley started feeling something unfamiliar, the weight of others doubting what she said. She lost control of the narrative. And the more she tried to maintain the image of the emotionally betrayed woman, the more people distanced themselves. Nobody confronted her directly, but she felt in their looks and gestures that something had changed. Instead of taking this as a sign to reflect, she shut herself off even more. She started repeating to herself that everyone was wrong. That Cole must have manipulated his sister, that his friends were spreading lies. It couldn't be her fault. Still trapped in her fantasy, she searched for excuses to keep her version standing. She felt humiliated by simply realizing that Cole, even silent, was winning. And that was what consumed her most. His silence began dismantling the character she created. The fact that he didn't answer, didn't fight back, didn't explain himself made things harder for her. Because in that silence, there was no villainy to point out. No visible flaw. Only the weight of a truth that, even unspoken, gained space. Pride stopped Haley from admitting she created a lie. She no longer knew if she was lying to others or to herself. And at that point, there was no difference. She tried to hold on to the idea that she did the right thing, that she deserved more, that she was brave for walking away. But each attempt to reinforce that narrative sounded weaker. The victim speech, repeated so many times, started losing meaning even for the few who still showed empathy. Professors who once praised her dedication now treated her with subtle coldness. Classmates avoided personal conversations. Some friendships simply disappeared without explanation. And the truth Haley feared most started imposing itself without anyone needing to shout it. People figured it out. The hardest part was looking in the mirror and trying to hold on to the image she built. Because everyone can lie to the world for a while. But it's impossible to lie to yourself for long without your body reacting. Haley started feeling empty. She slept poorly. Arrived late to classes. Avoided social events. Stopped answering messages. Lost interest in the little distractions she used before. She had nowhere else to run. She created a story where she was the wounded heroine, but forgot that sooner or later, the truth finds a way to surface. And in this case, it surfaced through the silence of someone wrongly accused, through the exhaustion of someone who no longer wanted to carry the burden of false accusations, and through the courage of someone who decided to turn the page without needing to justify anything. Haley found herself surrounded by a wall she built herself. Brick by brick. Lie by lie. And from there, all she could do was watch pieces of her own image collapse. Haley lost herself in her own plan. She tried manipulating others' perceptions, tried shaping what people said about her, tried erasing recent history as if repeating a lie long enough could make it comfortable. But Cole's silence unsettled her. That gap in the control she desperately tried to maintain gnawed at her. She needed a different ending, a reconciliation proving it was all just a mistake. And above all, she needed him to want her back. Not out of love, but for validation. Because if Cole wanted her back, maybe her mistakes wouldn't seem so bad. Maybe no one else would care about what happened. Maybe she could even forgive herself. She started monitoring him online. Created a fake profile just to view his Instagram stories. Tried drawing conclusions based on random phrases, random photos. If he smiled, she got angry. If he was with friends, she felt jealous. If he posted something serious, she saw an opening. She began frequenting places where she knew he might appear. Even went to his office building pretending it was a coincidence. And in one of these attempts, she managed to get close. Made it look like a chance encounter, and he, as always polite, agreed to talk. Suggested coffee, said she wanted to sort things out, that she just needed a chance to explain properly. Cole agreed. Not because he wanted to get back together. But because he was ready. And when she sat across from him dressed to impress, her heart racing, eyes searching his face for any sign of weakness, she was met with the calmness of someone who had already moved past everything. He wasn't there out of longing. He was there to close a chapter. Haley began with rehearsed lines. She said she was confused back then, that she felt invisible, that she thought he had already given up on her before everything unraveled. She used words like mistake, regret, and chance. But Cole didn't react. He listened in silence, and that unsettled her more than any scolding would. Then he pulled an envelope from his pocket and placed it on the table. Said he kept it out of respect for the truth. Haley hesitated. Took the envelope with trembling fingers and opened it. Inside were photos. 3 images. 3 different angles. The same scene repeated clearly, her kissing a guy outside the university library. In one, they laughed at something he said while she held his backpack strap familiarly. The dates were clear, stamped neatly. The 3 photos were taken only days apart, all while they were still married. The impact was immediate. Haley turned pale. Her throat dried up. The words vanished. She tried to justify. Said it was loneliness. That she felt alone. That she was vulnerable. That she didn't intend to take it further. That she just wanted to feel seen. But her voice lacked strength. It was the kind of explanation offered when you already know it's too late. Cole just stared at her calmly. And spoke firmly, you destroyed everything before saying you wanted to separate. Now you want to come back like nothing ever happened. Haley tried defending herself, but he raised his hand, asking for silence. You lied to me, to yourself, and to everyone. And still, you wanted to leave as the injured party. This was never love. This was ego. She tried touching him. Tried reaching for any trace of affection. But he stepped back, not violently, not rudely. Just with the firmness of someone who knows it's time to move on. He picked up the bill, paid calmly, and stood up. Said only one more sentence before walking away, you had a good man, and threw him away trying to prove something you don't even know what it was. Now it's too late. And he left the cafe like someone closing a door that will never open again. Haley stayed seated, motionless, the envelope in her hands, her face burning inside. She didn't cry there, because pride still kept her upright. But something inside had broken. And for the first time, she had no one to blame. All that remained was silence. The very same silence she once hated. The silence that, now, didn't come from Cole, it came from within her. Months passed. Haley continued living in the same city, going to the same places, encountering the same faces that once greeted her warmly but now simply looked away. There was no scandal, no public exposure. But she knew the story had spread. Not because of the photos Cole never showed anyone, but because of the change in people's behavior. That said everything. Slowly, she stopped getting invited to gatherings with classmates from college. The cafe where she used to study with friends felt like it had new owners, such was the coldness in how she was now treated. She felt her world shrinking. A world she once believed she controlled. She tried focusing on school, but concentration slipped easily. Tried distracting herself with social media, but other people's perfect lives seemed to pour salt on her wounds. Tried flirting with other guys, but every meeting felt forced, soulless, like she was trying to copy a poorly written script. Nothing worked. Guilt came in waves, sometimes strong enough to knock her down without warning. Sometimes disguised as anger, sometimes as pride. But the truth never stopped pulsing. She lost Cole. Not because he was stubborn or cold, but because she chose to test him until breaking what they had. And now, with a heavy heart, she understood that some tests only lead to one result, destruction. Until the party came. A college event mixing nostalgia with reunions and occasional appearances of people who marked a phase of life. Haley went. Thought it might be a chance to show she was doing fine. Wore her best outfit, did careful makeup, and rehearsed smiles in the mirror. She walked into the hall with whatever confidence remained, trying to ignore the sideways glances and whispers that followed her as she passed. And that's when she turned to grab a glass of water and saw him. Cole was just a few meters away. Lighter. His face more peaceful. His shoulders less tense. And next to him, a calm-looking woman with simple brown hair tied back and a gentle smile. Her name was Claire. Haley found out by the way someone from the group introduced them. This is Cole and this is Claire. That's all. But the way he looked at Claire after the introduction broke something inside Haley. It was a clean look, one she recognized but never learned to maintain. A look of love without fear. Cole was holding Claire's hand, but there was more than just the gesture. There was connection. Peace. Everything Haley tried forcing and failed to sustain. At that moment, Haley felt ashamed. Not for being alone, but for finally understanding the extent of the damage she caused. For knowing she lost not only a good man but the chance to grow alongside him. And for realizing that while she wasted energy trying to manipulate, prove, justify, he chose to move forward. He moved on with truth, a clear conscience, and a future that now belonged to someone else. People around them laughed, talked, toasted, but for Haley, everything seemed distant. As if she was on a lower frequency, filled with everything stuck in the past. She left the party early, without saying goodbye. Walked alone to the parking lot, tasting the bitter flavor of defeat without an audience. For the first time, she didn't feel like making excuses. Stopped wondering what others were thinking. Stopped trying to find someone to blame. Just accepted. Because there's a kind of regret that doesn't scream or destroy everything around it, but settles inside like a constant echo. She continued her life. Went back to routine, resumed her studies, made new connections, searched for meaning in what remained. But the scars were there, shaping how she viewed her own actions. And every time she remembered Cole, it wasn't with longing. It was with respect. A respect that arrived too late. Meanwhile, Cole lived new days. Simple days. Walks beside Claire, honest conversations, plans born without pressure. The kind of life he always wanted to build. He didn't speak about Haley. Didn't carry grudges. To him, everything was part of a cycle that ended. A cycle that required silence, patience, and mature pain to be overcome. Haley, meanwhile, learned the hardest way possible that true love doesn't need testing to prove its strength. And that when someone offers you peace, the worst mistake is mistaking it for weakness. Because in the end, the one who destroys peace with someone good is the one who will miss it the most afterward. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.